Mitchell not returning on Tuesday's game seems like she just got overheated. And shout out my dog Chris. I believe he went and found this statement. Shout out to Chris. And if you didn't research this right here, it's crazy. You literally said the same thing. You said the same thing here. But I don't know what this means. She overheated.
This sequence shows why Indiana can overwhelm teams when the pressure keeps building. Mitchell gets the steal, Clark attacks, and suddenly the defense is running backward. Once Indiana turns defensive stops into fast break chances, the game moves into exactly the kind of situation their guards want. This also connects directly to the rebounding problem. The Fever do not need to become the biggest or strongest team in the league overnight. They simply need to finish enough defensive plays with rebounds so they can start their transition game. For Indiana, a defensive rebound is not just the end of the other team's possession. It can be the first step of the next attack. Clark is most dangerous when defenders have not had time to get into position. Mitchell is dangerous when the defense is scrambling. Cunningham can follow the play and hit open threes, while Boston can run into the paint and get deep post position before the other team's big can set up. That means every offensive rebound Indiana gives up does more than give the opponent another chance to score. It can also take away one of Indiana's best chances to attack quickly. That is why the 18 offensive rebounds matter so much. They disrupt the way Indiana wants to play. Instead of grabbing the rebound and attacking, the Fever have to defend again and again. That number should concern you more than the final score.
Kelsey Mitchell with 29 points. 29 points scoring on the tater tots. This is my backcourt, all right? And Marina Mabrey, you better be careful, all right? You out there repping that maple leaf. You're about to get turned into maple syrup out there. You was about to get turned to maple syrup, dog. I mean, it was getting feisty between Kelsey Mitchell and Marina Mabrey. Marina out there slapping Kelsey. Kelsey was like, hey, you got one more time.
Now the box score starts showing the importance of Indiana's supporting players. The clip gives KK 8 points on perfect shooting and 7 rebounds, while Boston finished with 16 points, 3 assists, and 3 blocks. Those numbers matter because Indiana cannot build a strong run with only 3 players doing everything. Depth becomes important when a starter gets into foul trouble, someone has to leave the game, or the schedule starts wearing players down. This is also where the Mitchell situation connects to the bigger story. If the bench players can defend well, hit open shots, and grab rebounds, Stephanie White has more freedom to manage her star players instead of depending on them for every possession. That is what good depth gives a coach: options. Bench players are also often judged too quickly. A player might get 4 minutes, miss one shot, and suddenly fans decide they cannot contribute. But role players usually need clear jobs more than they need lots of shots. They need to defend, rebound, run the floor, make the simple pass, and take open shots when they are available. If Indiana can get those things consistently, its stars will not have to fix every problem themselves. That becomes even more important late in the season, when the difference between surviving a difficult stretch and falling apart can come down to whether the 8th or 9th player can give the team 6 steady minutes.
That's why I was saying Kelsey Mitchell does not need to be in longer than Caitlin Clark. All right? She's a little older than Caitlin, right? She's a little older than Aaliyah Boston. Only reason I understand Boston is because she's a big. Bigs usually don't stay in as long as guards. I understand that. But my goodness, we don't need another situation like last year in the playoffs. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right? I don't need that happening, Stephanie White. Please take care of my
Lexi Hull is a good example of how difficult this balance can be. 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting does not look impressive in the box score. But the bigger question is whether Indiana is giving her enough good opportunities to shoot. A shooter needs rhythm, although that cannot be an excuse for every missed shot. If Hull is going to play a spacing role, Indiana needs her ready to shoot when the defense collapses. At the same time, she cannot expect to take 10 shots before she becomes effective. Role players have to deal with uneven opportunities. The answer is not to force shots to Hull. Instead, Indiana should create simple and repeatable plays that give everyone a clear idea of where the shots will come from. Clark drives, the weak side defender helps on Boston, and the ball goes to the corner. Mitchell attacks a closeout, a second defender steps up, and she kicks the ball out to the wing. These are simple reads within a game that is always changing. That kind of structure can make a shooter more comfortable because she knows when her chance is coming instead of standing around waiting for the ball. And when Indiana is already putting heavy scoring pressure on opponents, having one more reliable shooter can be the difference between a defense surviving the first rotation and completely falling apart on the second.
We can't beat better teams like this, man. We gave up 18 offensive rebounds, ladies and gentlemen. 18 offensive rebounds. I love that we won, but my goodness, I got to talk about that. I had to talk about it, y'all. We have to rebound. And honestly, we need to run players off of that perimeter, too. The Toronto tempo was knocking down
Now we get to Clark's full stat line: 24 points, 7 of 16 shooting, 4 of 9 from 3, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and 7 turnovers. This is a useful stat line because it shows both the good and the bad parts of her game. Her scoring efficiency shows control. Her 7 assists show how much she creates for her teammates. But the 7 turnovers show that some possessions became too loose. That is the bigger challenge for Indiana as a team. The goal should not be for Clark to stop taking risks just to make her numbers look cleaner. Indiana needs Clark to stay aggressive because that pressure forces defenses to react. At the same time, her teammates need to become more connected with her. Some turnovers happen because the passer makes a bad decision. Others happen because teammates are slightly out of sync. Some happen because a move simply does not work. Coaches need to separate these mistakes when watching film because each one requires a different solution. If Clark loses the ball while trying to create space off the dribble, that is a technical issue. If she forces a pass into a defense that has already closed the lane, that is a decision-making issue. If a teammate cuts when Clark expected them to stay in place, that is a chemistry issue. 7 turnovers should not be ignored, but they also should not all be treated as the same mistake. The bigger takeaway is that Clark was still close to having a huge scoring night despite those turnovers. The source argues that 30 points could have been possible if a few possessions had gone differently. That potential is what should excite Indiana. The mistakes are what the team needs to study and fix in the film room.
Look at some of the highlights. Caitlin Clark finding Sophie in the corner. Bang! Come on, man. I always state this about Sophie and Lexi. And we're going to talk about Lexi, but I always state this about them. If we collapse the defense, they're going to be the main ones in the corner and at the wing that we need to find. They are key, essential pieces, right, to this offense, scoring 100 points, looking dangerous.
Cunningham's stats may be the best example of how an efficient role can help a team. She scored 13 points while shooting 3 of 4 from the field and a perfect 3 of 3 from three-point range. She did not need 15 shots. She just needed the defense to lose track of her a few times. That is why spacing is so important. When one player attracts 2 defenders, it only matters if another player takes advantage of the open space. Cunningham did exactly that. Now the bigger offensive picture becomes clear. Clark puts pressure on the defense. Mitchell provides another scoring option. Cunningham takes advantage when defenders help. Boston provides scoring inside and strong defense. Hull can add more spacing when she is shooting well. Together, these skills help explain Indiana's strong shooting numbers: 53% from the field, 44% from 3, and 84% from the free throw line. Those are numbers that can win games on most nights. But they also hide an important problem. Indiana needed to shoot that efficiently because Toronto kept getting extra possessions through offensive rebounds. And this brings us back to the main issue from the beginning. Mitchell leaving the game because of what White described as overheating was the immediate concern. But the bigger problem in this game was the battle for possessions. One problem may be temporary, while the other could become a pattern.
From deep, bang! Oh my goodness, Kelsey Mitchell was absolutely on fire, man. I loved everything Kelsey Mitchell was doing out there. Look at this. Getting downhill, just scrambling them up like eggs, man. What do you like with your breakfast? Scrambled eggs with cheese? Kelsey Mitchell definitely giving you that. That is just
Toronto finished with 41 rebounds, including 18 offensive rebounds, while Indiana had only 32 total rebounds. Those numbers explain why this game was both impressive and concerning. Toronto shot just 39% from the field and 32% from 3. Normally, if your opponent shoots that poorly while you shoot 53% overall and 44% from 3, you would expect the game to feel under control. But extra possessions can change everything. Giving a team 18 offensive rebounds means giving them many second chances to score. In a playoff game, where every possession becomes even more important, that can quickly reduce your advantage. The Fever do not need to win every rebounding battle. They need to make sure they secure the rebounds that matter most. Long-range shots often create long rebounds, so guards have to help. Wings need to make contact with opponents instead of simply watching the ball. Big players cannot chase every block and still expect to control the boards alone. Rebounding is a 5-player responsibility. There are also tactical decisions involved. If Boston steps up to challenge a shot, someone else needs to move into position to rebound. If Clark runs out early to start a fast break, another player has to secure the rebound first. If a perimeter defender gets driven under the basket, she may already be out of position when the shot goes up. That is why simply telling players to box out will not fix everything. Indiana needs to use film to find exactly where the rebounding system is breaking down. Are weak side players getting lost? Are guards failing to make contact with players coming from the perimeter? Are smaller defenders getting stuck against bigger players after switches? Are multiple Fever players chasing the same rebound while nobody covers another opponent? These are fixable problems, but Indiana has to treat them as team and system problems rather than simply blaming individual effort. The issue matters even more because Indiana's offense already looks strong. A weaker offensive team might look at this game and simply be happy that it survived. Indiana should see something different. If Clark can score 24, Mitchell can score 29, Cunningham can shoot efficiently, and Boston can add 16 points, the Fever do not need to completely reinvent their offense. They need to stop giving opponents extra possessions. That could be the difference between being an entertaining team that wins high-scoring games and becoming a team that can actually control games. The same idea applies to the Mitchell situation. Indiana needs to manage its players, the ball, and the rebounding battle. The team has enough talent that it should not have to win every game through chaos. And there is one important point about Mitchell's condition. Stephanie White did not confirm a serious injury. Based on the clip, she said Mitchell appeared to have gotten overheated. That distinction matters. Fans should be concerned, but they should not turn an uncertain post-game comment into something more serious than what was actually said. What we do know is that losing Mitchell for any significant amount of time would change Indiana's offense dramatically. Her 29-point performance showed exactly how valuable she is. So the biggest question after this win is not whether Indiana can score. We already know the answer. The question is whether the Fever can fix the weaknesses that stronger opponents will target before those mistakes cost them a game. If you had to choose one concern right now, which bothers you more, Kelsey Mitchell leaving after a huge scoring night, or Indiana allowing Toronto to grab 18 offensive rebounds despite shooting well enough to control the game? Drop your choice in the comments. And if you want more Fever breakdowns focused on what actually happened on the court, like the video and subscribe.